Made to Stick by Chip Heath and Dan Heath. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Samuel and I want to make self-growth normal. If you want to make self-growth normal, because I don't want to do it alone, then make sure to smash that like button. This book is meant as a complement to the book The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell, in the sense that Gladwell was interested in what makes social epidemics, as he called them, social. The authors of this book, who I'm pretty sure were both brothers, they're wondering how effective ideas are constructed. They want to pay tribute to him, but they want to focus on the word stickiness, because as they said, it's stuck. So, what's that? Making ideas that stick reminded me of the book Contagious by Jonah Berger from 2013, which was, I think it was released 6 years after this one. There are even 6 things in that book that all of the ideas have in common. So what separates this book from Contagious, or for that matter, The Tipping Point? Which, by the way, is easily my second, if not my favorite, Malcolm Gladwell book. The thing with Gladwell is, well, I'm glad I can say many nonfiction authors are constantly bringing up his work when shedding light on their own concepts, from Nassim Taleb, writer of the infamously detailed Black Swan, to Dan Kahneman, writer of the legendary psychology title Thinking Fast and Slow, to the controversial Robert Greene in my opinion, his least controversial book, Mastery. It's like, for a lot of us, Gladwell is like your favorite author's favorite author. So where's the differentiator? In this review, I'm going to go into the chapters and what I learned and what I admired, but I'm also going to talk about that for those who are like, Sam, this is just another marketing book, like why would I even bother checking this out? Honestly, all the books that you review are starting to sound like a broken, needle-dropping Amazonian parrot. So there's this abbreviation, success, S-U-C-E, just S. The last S isn't there, but it stands for simple, unexpected, concreteness, emotional, and oh my gosh, S for Sam. No. Stories. That's what the ideas that stick, that's what they all have in common. And I'm going to talk about each one of those. I think they referred to it as a checklist. So to start with simple, the thing with simple is profundity. Profundity is such a profound sounding word. The idea can be simple, but if it's not profound, it's not going to stand out as much. I feel like it's obvious that simplicity is required to make ideas that stick. Otherwise, people can only take in so much information at once and actually register it and attach ideas of their own and emotions to it. Almost makes me wonder why they didn't call the chapter Profundity. Puccess. I don't know. It doesn't stick. They couldn't have called it both. Simple profundity. That would be simple and profound, but surely not simple and profound enough. The next one is unexpected. How do we violate expectations? How can we be counterintuitive? This chapter focuses on how can I get a bunch of attention? And just as, if not more crucially, how can I keep it? This is just so marketing. If marketing is not an adjective, it is now. Something that surprised me with this book is just the variety of examples. These guys will describe how the ideas apply to articles about popcorn and sunburn. But then they'll talk about the frugality of Southwest Airlines and the customer philosophy of, what is it, a clothing brand outlet thing? Nordstrom? What are they, Swedish? Nordstrom. Let me look this up. Nordstrom. I don't care if you use my location. I just want to know if they're Swedish or not. Where's their Wikipedia? I look at everything up nowadays and there's no Wikipedia. Is Wikipedia going out of business? American. Cool, okay, they're American. Nordstrom, it sounds so Swedish to me. But they'll talk about the customer service philosophy of Nordstrom, then they'll talk about how psychologist Robert Cialdini, writer of my favorite psych book, Influence, used the information he taught his students to more effectively teach his own students. Then they'll talk about the similarities between Pokemon fans and car buffs, and movie viewers and students in an intriguing lecture. The next one is concreteness. Naturally, sticky ideas are filled with concrete images, because our brains are only wired to remember concrete data. A lot of this chapter focuses on the differences between concreteness and abstraction. It really stuck out to me when he said that, when discussing topics with experts, it's best to use abstract terms, and when discussing with, novices, it's best to use concrete terms. Concrete terms, it's just it's physical, objects and stuff, like fruit or doctors or playgrounds, how it's physical things that when I say them, you know exactly what I'm talking about because you've experienced them and you've seen them. When I say it, it's hard to not think about it as long as you're paying attention to me. Whereas abstract is like concepts and ideas like English or Judaism, for example. The thing is though, everyone understands concreteness. Even experts need the transparency that concreteness delivers. These are such like extraordinary ideas that I feel like you just wouldn't really find in a Gladwell book. Like I consider the ideas themselves maybe kind of Gladwellian, but not presented in a Gladwellian way. Gladwell was like, he's just like, all these people, they're just dying of old age. They're not dying for any other reason than old age. Why is that? These guys are like, these people are dying of old age. Now, given all the information we just gave you, write down every reason that makes sense to you and consider which ones best explain why that might be. The next one is credible. This is a try before you buy philosophy. The idea has to be applicable. Like, before you vote, ask yourself if you're doing better now than you were 4 years ago. This is the closest chapter to that one chapter you find in marketing books about influencers. And if Michael Jordan's got milk, maybe you got milk too. I don't know. But it's still very far from it. Like they called that external credibility in this chapter. Never heard that term before ever in my entire life. External credibility? Really? What is that? It's credible, but what about internal credibility? Sam, what is internal credibility? And how do you use it? And when is it most effective? They go really deep into this. The examples they use are not normal, and most of them I have not heard anything about before. The next chapter is emotional. 37 grams of fat does not elicit emotion. When it comes to getting people to quit popcorn, you have to make them feel disgusted about it, or about not quitting popcorn. This chapter focuses on appealing to self-interest, using or avoiding associations, and appealing to identity as a means of influencing people to think or act a certain way. The thing that you said about algebra though, I just couldn't really resonate with. I gotta say it. Someone's gotta say it. I wish I could, but if I'm not going to college, which I didn't go to college, I still can't really see how algebra helps that much with like critical thinking. And just like the one author's brother, I'm in sales. I attribute none of my financial success whatsoever to the use of math beyond basic addition, subtraction, multiplication, and maybe division. Maybe. Alone, not to mention my favorite thing ever, calculators. And I'm not saying that to be stubborn, I just think that anyone who's remotely successful at what they do, who didn't like algebra or go to college, or they did go to college but didn't like algebra, could say the same thing. Like, I can't be alone on that. The next chapter is stories. Research shows that mentally rehearsing a situation helps us perform better when we actually encounter that situation in the physical environment. Similarly, hearing stories acts as a kind of mental flight simulator, preparing us to respond more quickly and effectively. I think this chapter contained the most apt analysis of how all the principles of stickiness, or what have you, apply to a marketing idea. Mr. Jared the Subway guy. Whenever I think of Jared, I think of that one Cardi B line about can you stop with all the subs? I'm not Jared. If you really want some smoke, you can pull up, you can get it. I really like Cardi B's music, but there's sometimes that you hear lines like that and you're like, why is she saying this? I don't know. I think her delivery is more than good enough that people hear it and they're kind of like, yeah, no subs. I don't get it though. I mean, Subway is really good. But that story is simple. It's simple. It's not expected. How on earth could fast food help someone lose weight? Does that even make sense? It's concrete. It's filled with concrete images. Everything from the before and after pictures, the sandwiches, of course, to the 60-inch jeans. It's credible. If he can do it, so can you. And it's emotional. A guy reached massive amounts of untapped potential by losing hundreds of pounds in weight. And it's quite the story. By the way, I don't know if you've seen like 1,000-pound life or whatever. I don't know, 600 my 1,000-pound system, whatever it's called. The thing with weight loss is that the heavier you are, the faster and easier it is to lose weight as long as you're able to control your portions. Maybe I'm not wording that perfectly, but that's I'm kind of paraphrasing, but that's basically the idea. So if you're 180 pounds you're eating Subway to lose weight, you're probably not going to lose it nearly as fast as someone who weighs 300, 400 pounds. But overall, when you take these 5 things, or 6 things: simplicity, unexpectedness, concreteness, credibility, emotion, and storytelling, you begin to see where they converge in different ideas that are not even in the book. And they study all sorts of ideas in the book, if that's not obvious by now. Like I said, these 5 items are more of a checklist than a tool or set of tools. It's not rocket science or instinctive, but it does require diligence and awareness. This book was distinctive. I mean, it really stood out from Contagious, and I never thought of of Malcolm Gladwell listening to it at all. It barely sounded like anything he would write, even the tipping point. I was impressed with the checklist more than anything, which, by the way, if I didn't say this already, it's an abbreviation for success minus the S at the end. That whole checklist is easily the biggest groundbreaker I got from the book. In the book Invent and Wander by Amazon founder Jeff Bezos and legendary biographer Walter Isaacson, Isaacson wrote in the intro that people who love all fields of knowledge are the ones who can best spot the patterns that exist across nature. And in my opinion, if you want to count marketing and influence of as a pattern of nature, these guys are they hit one big nail on the head just hard enough to help address just enough of those patterns, whereas other marketing authors like Jonah Berger or Seth Godin or oh my gosh, what's that guy's name? Derek Thompson didn't. Normally I have standout quotes that I read at this point in the review, but believe it or not, I actually didn't have any standout quotes from this book. I don't know why. It's a really sick book. Direction 1. I recommend Made to Stick to anyone who, simply put, wants to learn more about ideas that are made to stick. This book's name almost perfectly describes its contents. I do want to stress, though, in case I didn't before, that to me this book was more than anything about how ideas stick. What about them sticks? I didn't get that much at all out of this book about how ideas spread and what makes them spread. And that's probably a big differentiator between this book and similar ones I would recommend. Direction 2, if you like this book, I would recommend checking out The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell and Contagious by Jonah Berger and Hitmakers by Derek Thompson. Made to Stick by Chip Heath and Dan Heath. There's a link in the description if you guys want to check it out and read the reviews. That and all the other books I mentioned in this video if you want to check those out too. If you guys buy anything through the links in the description, then I get commission, which helps me build this channel and keep making these videos. If there are any other books that you guys want me to check out and review, please, please, please let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know if you checked out this book and you liked it. But hey, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, because I don't get why people watch this far into my videos and they don't subscribe, but if you have subscribed and you want to turn it up just a notch and turn on that notification bell to get a notification whenever I drop new videos, that would mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can find me everywhere, and I will see you then.